Jake Morrison stood in the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, trying not to show his amazement. The room was huge, made of crystal that sparkled with colors he had never seen before. It floated in space around two bright stars, and through the clear walls, he could see the endless darkness filled with distant lights. Around him sat the representatives of 47 different alien species. Some looked like giant insects with clicking mouths. Others were made of pure light that moved and changed shape. There were reptile-like creatures with sharp teeth and beings that looked like living rocks. All of them were staring at him with what Jake could only describe as boredom and disgust. Next to Jake stood Dr. Lisa Campbell, Earth's best scientist who studied alien life. She held a small device that contained everything Earth wanted to share with these advanced beings. Lisa had worked for months to prepare their presentation, showing how humans could help the galaxy and what they could offer in return. The leader of the council was called Veltar. He was a being made of energy that crackled and sparked when he talked. His voice sounded like electricity running through metal when he spoke to the gathered aliens. "We are here today to consider the request from the species that calls itself human," Veltar said, his energy form flickering with what seemed like amusement. "They come from a small planet they call Earth, located in what they call the Milky Way galaxy." A creature that looked like a giant lizard with red scales made a hissing sound that Jake realized was laughter. "These humans still use chemical rockets to barely escape their own atmosphere," the lizard said. "My people were traveling between stars when their species was still living in caves." The insect queen clicked her sharp mouth parts together. "They have not even learned to grow their own ships from living material. They build crude metal boxes and hope they do not break apart in space." More laughter filled the chamber. A being made of flowing water bubbled with mirth. "They cannot even communicate without making sound waves with their mouths. How primitive." Jake felt his face getting hot with anger, but he forced himself to stay calm. He had been a soldier before becoming a diplomat, and he knew how to control his emotions even when people were insulting him. Veltar gestured toward Jake with a tendril of crackling energy. "You may present your case, human." Jake stepped forward and began to speak. He talked about how quickly humans had advanced in the past 100 years. He explained how they had learned to use nuclear power, how they had begun to explore their solar system, and how they had developed computers and advanced medicine. Lisa added scientific details about human discoveries. She showed them data about human genetics, their ability to adapt to different environments, and their talent for solving problems in new ways. The aliens listened, but Jake could see they were not impressed. Some of them were not even paying attention. The lizard creature was cleaning his claws. The insect queen was grooming her antenna. Several of the energy beings were flickering in patterns that Jake suspected meant they were talking to each other without words. When Jake finished speaking, the chamber fell silent for a moment. Then Veltar began to speak again. "Humans," he said, his voice crackling with what sounded like laughter. "You present yourselves as a species ready to join galactic civilization. But what we see is different." The lizard creature leaned forward. "Your technology is at least 1,000 years behind the least advanced species in this council. Your weapons are crude. Your ships are slow and fragile. You still fight wars among yourselves," added a being that looked like living rock. "You destroy your own planet with pollution and waste. You cannot even agree on simple things like how to govern yourselves." The insect queen made her clicking sound again. "Perhaps humans could serve some useful purpose. They might make adequate servants for waste management on our mining worlds." More laughter filled the chamber. Jake felt his hands clench into fists, but he kept them at his sides. Veltar raised a tendril for silence. "The Galactic Council has made its decision. Earth will be granted observer status only. You may watch our proceedings and learn, but you have no voice in our decisions and no rights as members." He gestured, and Lisa's device displayed a long list of requirements. "These are the technological and social milestones your species must achieve before you may apply for membership again. Based on your current rate of development, you should be ready to reapply in approximately 500 years. The chamber filled with alien laughter again. Jake felt his jaw muscles tightening as he listened to them mock his entire species. Veltar was not finished. "Perhaps when your kind learns to control its violent nature and develops actual technology instead of these primitive toys, you might be worthy of maintaining our waste processing systems." The insult hit Jake like a physical blow. These beings were not just rejecting humanity's application. They were treating humans like animals, like pets that might someday be trained to do simple tasks. Jake felt Lisa's hand touch his arm in warning. She could see the anger building in his face. As a former Marine, Jake had learned to control his temper. But he had also learned when it was time to stop being polite. He stepped forward, his voice calm but carrying something that made several aliens suddenly pay closer attention. "We appreciate the Council's guidance," Jake said slowly. Each word was carefully chosen and delivered with the kind of quiet authority that comes from commanding others in dangerous situations. "Earth will take your recommendations under consideration." There was something in his tone that made the chamber suddenly quieter. The lizard creature stopped cleaning his claws. The insect queen's clicking sounds became softer. Even Veltar's energy form seemed to flicker less brightly. Jake continued speaking in that same calm voice. "We understand that the Council believes humans are not ready for galactic civilization. We understand that you see us as primitive and violent." He paused, and in that silence something seemed to change in the room. "We will return to Earth and share the Council's wisdom with our people. I am sure they will be very interested to learn how galactic civilization operates." Jake turned to leave, with Lisa following close behind. As they walked toward the exit, Jake's final words echoed in the crystal chamber. "Thank you for this educational experience." The door closed behind them, leaving the alien representatives in an uncomfortable silence. Several of them had the strange feeling that something important had just happened, but they could not quite understand what it was. Veltar flickered uncertainly. "Primitive creatures," he said, but his voice lacked its earlier confidence. The human delegation was gone, but somehow their presence still lingered in the chamber like the smell of smoke after a fire. 6 months after the humiliating meeting with the Galactic Council, President Helen Carter walked through the underground tunnels beneath the Pentagon. The corridors were deeper than most people knew existed, leading to facilities that did not appear on any public maps. She entered a room called Deep Haven, where her most trusted advisors were waiting. General Roy Martinez, the head of all military forces, stood beside holographic displays that showed star maps and alien territories. Admiral Susan Walsh, who commanded the Secret Space Command, reviewed reports from locations that officially did not exist. Dr. Alan Cross, the director of something called the Prometheus Project, activated a screen that showed files marked with the highest security classifications. The information displayed would have shocked every person on Earth, including most government leaders. "Madam President," General Martinez began, "it's time to reveal what we've really been doing for the past 50 years. President Carter sat down at the head of the table. She had suspected that Earth's response to alien contact involved more than just diplomatic missions, but she was not prepared for what she was about to learn. Dr. Cross began the briefing. "When we first detected alien signals 50 years ago, we made a decision. While publicly pursuing peaceful contact, we began preparing for the possibility that the galaxy might not welcome us. The holographic display changed to show a massive underground facility in the Sahara Desert. The complex was enormous, stretching for miles beneath the sand. The Prometheus Project has been reverse engineering alien technology recovered from crashed vessels and abandoned outposts," Dr. Cross explained. "We have been very careful to make these recoveries look like natural disasters or accidents." Admiral Walsh stepped forward. "While the aliens believe we use chemical rockets, we have been deploying stealth fleets throughout the galaxy for decades. We call it the Shadow Fleet." The display showed sleek ships that looked nothing like the crude vessels Earth publicly used for space exploration. These ships were beautiful and clearly advanced, with smooth lines that seemed to bend light around them. Commander Nick Barnes, leader of the Shadow Fleet, appeared on the screen from a secret location. "We have mapped every major alien installation, trade route, and military base in 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. They have never detected our presence." President Carter felt her breath catch. "You mean we've been spying on them?" "More than spying," Dr. Cross said. "We've been studying their technology and improving on it. Human engineers have a talent for taking alien science and making it work better." Chief Engineer Rachel Stone demonstrated their actual capabilities. She showed weapons that could manipulate matter at the level of atoms, ships that could fold space to travel instantly across vast distances, and defensive systems that made conventional protection useless. Every alien visitor to Earth has only seen what we wanted them to see, Rachel explained. Our real technology has been developed in complete secrecy, combining human creativity with alien science. The scope of the deception was incredible. While aliens thought they understood human limitations, Earth had been building a shadow civilization that exceeded their wildest dreams. Intelligence Officer Captain Dana Mills revealed the most disturbing findings about their galactic neighbors. The Galactic Council maintains power through fear and technological suppression. Younger species are kept deliberately weak. Their advancement is monitored and sabotaged when necessary. The display showed evidence of Council crimes. They had destroyed entire civilizations that refused to submit. They had created diseases to eliminate troublesome species. They had engineered resource wars to keep potential rivals fighting each other instead of challenging Council authority. The Council's aid programs are actually designed to create dependency, Captain Mills continued. Species that accept their help become trapped in a system where they can never advance enough to threaten Council power. President Carter absorbed this information with growing anger. So they're not just arrogant. They're predators. Exactly, General Martinez confirmed. They maintain a galactic empire through systematic oppression. Any species that shows real potential is eliminated before they can become a threat. The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Earth faced a terrible choice. They could accept subservience, spending centuries under alien oversight while their potential was slowly strangled. Or they could reveal their true capabilities and demand the respect they deserved, knowing it would mean war with powers that had dominated the galaxy for millennia. President Carter looked at each of her advisors. What are our chances if we choose to resist? Admiral Walsh smiled grimly. Better than they think. Human technology has some advantages that alien science lacks. We're more adaptable, more creative, and much more stubborn. Dr. Cross added, our hybrid technology combines the best of both approaches. In many areas, we've already surpassed what the Council considers state-of-the-art. There's something else, Commander Barnes said from the screen. We've been studying alien psychology and tactics for decades. We know their weaknesses, their fears, and their political divisions. Captain Mills brought up another display. We also have agents in place throughout their societies, humans who have been living among them, gathering intelligence and preparing for this possibility. General Martinez leaned forward. Madam President, if we do this, there's no going back. Once we reveal our true capabilities, the galaxy will never see us as harmless primitives again. President Carter stood and walked to the window that showed the underground facility stretching into the distance. Thousands of people were working on projects that would determine humanity's future. They think we're violent primitives who should be grateful for scraps from their table, she said quietly. They believe they can keep us weak and dependent forever. She turned back to face the room. But they made one critical mistake. They assumed that what they observed represented the limits of human capability. The decision was unanimous among Earth's leaders. If the galaxy respected only strength, humanity would show them what strength truly meant. Admiral Walsh began mobilizing the hidden fleets that had been built in secret asteroid facilities. General Martinez activated sleeper agents who had been living ordinary lives while waiting for this moment. Dr. Cross prepared to unveil technologies that would shatter the Council's understanding of what humans could achieve. President Carter gave the final order. We have 18 months before our next mandatory appearance before the Council. Use that time to position ourselves for what comes next. She paused, looking at the faces of the people who would lead humanity into an uncertain future. The galaxy is about to learn why underestimating human determination is the last mistake an enemy ever makes. In secret facilities around the world and hidden bases throughout the solar system, humanity began preparing to reveal its true nature. The time for hiding was almost over. 18 months of careful preparation ended abruptly when the emergency transmission reached Earth from the New Haven colony. Governor Paul Stevens stood in the command center of a rescue ship, his face pale as he delivered news that would change everything. New Haven is gone, he said quietly, his voice barely steady. All 40,000 colonists are dead. The transmission showed images that would haunt everyone who saw them. Families dead in their homes. Children who never had a chance to understand what was happening. An entire community wiped out in 72 hours by a disease that attacked human biology with terrifying efficiency. President Carter watched the report in the Deep Haven facility, surrounded by her military advisors. The official Galactic Council statement called it a tragic accident, a result of human inexperience with alien pathogens. They expressed sympathy for the loss and suggested that proper council guidance could have prevented such disasters. But Intelligence Officer Captain Dana Mills had different information. Her agents throughout the galaxy had intercepted communications that revealed the horrible truth about what had really happened at New Haven. The plague was engineered by the Kythera hive, she reported, her voice tight with controlled anger. It was a field test, designed to study human biological responses for future applications. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. This had not been an accident or even an attack of war. It had been an experiment. 40,000 human lives had been extinguished to satisfy alien curiosity about how to kill humans more efficiently. There's more, Captain Mills continued. Intercepted communications show that the Council views the colony's destruction as a useful demonstration to keep other young species in line. They're planning similar tests on colonies belonging to other developing civilizations. Governor Stevens appeared on the main screen from the dead colony. His wife Emma and their 2 children had been among the victims. His voice broke as he described what he had found when rescue ships finally reached New Haven. They died in agony, he said. The plague attacked their nervous systems first, then their organs. It was designed to cause maximum suffering while studying human pain responses. Admiral Walsh stood abruptly, her hands clenched into fists. They used our people as laboratory animals. Dr. Cross was reviewing the biological data from the plague. This disease was carefully crafted to target human DNA specifically. It required detailed knowledge of our genetic structure and months of preparation. This was planned long before they rejected our council application. General Martinez looked at President Carter. Madam President, our diplomatic approach is no longer viable. They've made their intentions clear. President Carter stared at the images from New Haven, her expression hardening with each passing moment. The aliens had not simply rejected humanity's request for membership in their civilization. They had declared war on human existence itself. Authorize Operation Revelation, she said quietly. The time for deception is over. Within hours, the Shadow Fleet moved to positions throughout the galaxy. Ships that had remained hidden for decades emerged from stealth to surround key alien installations. Human agents activated deep cover assets that had been in place for years. Ambassador Jake Morrison, who was preparing for humanity's second appearance before the Galactic Council, received new orders. His diplomatic mission was canceled. Instead, General Martinez would represent Earth at the Council session, and his message would be very different from anything the aliens expected. The preparation for humanity's response was swift and thorough. Human cyber warfare specialists began penetrating alien communication networks, not to spy this time, but to demonstrate their capabilities. Key council members started receiving anonymous data packages containing detailed information about their most classified projects and personal secrets. The psychological warfare campaign was carefully orchestrated by Dr. Campbell, who had been promoted to Strategic Communications Director. Each alien species received precisely crafted intelligence about human capabilities designed to create maximum uncertainty and fear. The Kythera hive discovered that humans knew the location of their secret breeding facilities. The Zephyrian energy beings found that their most protected power sources were being monitored by unknown technology. The reptilian Draknari learned that their military communications had been compromised for decades. Most disturbing to the aliens was the sudden silence from their own intelligence networks. Human activities, which had been easy to monitor for decades, suddenly became invisible. Human colonies that had seemed vulnerable and isolated were now protected by defensive systems of unknown capability. The change was dramatic and coordinated. In a single day, every major alien species lost their ability to gather intelligence about human activities. Their own secure communications were being intercepted and decoded with efficiency that should have been impossible. 3 days before the scheduled council session, something unprecedented happened. Every alien military installation in the galaxy lost contact with their command structures simultaneously for exactly 60 seconds. When communications returned, the installations were unharmed, but the message was clear. Human forces could reach anywhere, anytime. The aliens began to realize that their understanding of human capabilities had been completely wrong. The primitive species they had dismissed so casually possessed technology that could penetrate their most advanced defenses without being detected. Governor Stevens volunteered to accompany General Martinez to the council session. The man who had lost his family to alien experimentation would serve as a living reminder of what humanity had endured and why they would no longer accept it. As the council session approached, panic spread through alien government circles. Intelligence agencies that had easily monitored human activities for decades found themselves facing opponents who seemed to know everything about alien society while revealing nothing about their own capabilities. The galaxy's powers faced a disturbing new reality. The humans they had treated as laboratory subjects and potential servants were revealing themselves to be something far more dangerous, equals who refused to accept inequality. Dr. Cross made the final preparations for the demonstration that would accompany General Martinez's presentation. The technology that would be revealed had been held in reserve for exactly this moment, when humanity needed to prove beyond any doubt that the age of alien supremacy was over. The message humanity would deliver was simple. 40,000 innocent people had died because the galaxy's powers believed humans were too weak to demand justice. They were about to learn how catastrophically they had miscalculated. General Martinez entered the Galactic Council chambers wearing his military dress uniform, every medal and ribbon earned through human conflicts that the aliens considered primitive and meaningless. Unlike Jake Morrison's previous diplomatic approach, Martinez carried himself with the bearing of a man who had commanded others through life and death situations. The alien representatives treated this second human appearance with even more disdain than before. Veltar, the energy being who led the council, crackled with what sounded like laughter. "The humans send a warrior this time," Veltar said, his voice sparking with amusement. "Perhaps they believe intimidation will succeed where diplomacy failed." The lizard-like Draknari representative hissed with mirth. "Are they trying to threaten us with their primitive weapons? Do they think we fear creatures who still fight with metal projectiles?" The insect queen clicked her mandibles in what passed for laughter among her species. "Humans are becoming aggressive because of their rejection. This proves they are not ready for civilized society." Martinez listened patiently to their mockery, his expression never changing. His calm demeanor seemed to puzzle some of the aliens, who had expected either anger or fear from a human military officer. When called upon to speak, Martinez did not present humanity's achievements or plead for reconsideration of their membership application. Instead, he asked a simple question that caught the council completely off guard. "Do you gentlemen and ladies know what happened at New Haven?" The question created an uncomfortable silence in the chamber. Several representatives exchanged glances that suggested they knew more about the colony's destruction than they had publicly admitted. The Cathera Queen's mandibles clicked nervously. She knew exactly what had happened at New Haven because her species had orchestrated the entire operation. "A tragic accident," Veltar responded dismissively, his energy form flickering with what might have been guilt. "A consequence of your species' inexperience with galactic environments. Perhaps if you had accepted our guidance instead of pursuing dangerous colonization." Martinez cut him off with a gesture that somehow commanded attention despite his supposedly primitive nature. The movement was subtle but carried an authority that made every alien in the chamber suddenly pay attention. "Let me be more specific," Martinez said calmly. "Do you know how we know what really happened at New Haven?" The general activated a device that should have been impossible for human technology to create. A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber, showing images and data with clarity that exceeded the council's own projection systems. The images showed classified Kithera biolaboratories, recorded conversations between council members, and detailed documentation of the plague's development and deployment. The aliens saw their own secret facilities, their own private communications, and their own classified research displayed for everyone to observe. The council chambers fell completely silent. Several representatives began calculating how humans could have obtained intelligence from facilities that were light years away and protected by the most advanced security systems in the galaxy. "For 50 years, Martinez continued, his voice carrying the quiet authority of someone who had never needed to raise it to command respect, "you have observed humanity. You have evaluated our technology, our culture, our potential. You have found us wanting. He gestured, and the holographic display shifted to show Galactic Council military installations. But these were not images from external surveillance. These pictures came from inside the facilities, showing detailed schematics, personnel rosters, and defensive capabilities. The lizard creature stopped cleaning his claws. The energy beings flickered with uncertainty. Even the rock-like creatures seemed to shift uncomfortably in their positions. The error in your evaluation, Martinez said, was assuming that what you observed represented the extent of human capability. We have a saying on Earth, speak softly and carry a big stick. For half a century, we have spoken very softly indeed. The display changed again, showing real-time footage from human stealth ships positioned throughout the galaxy. The Shadow Fleet had surrounded every major alien military installation, trade hub, and communication relay. Weapons of unknown design were trained on targets the aliens had considered absolutely secure. The Draknari representative hissed in alarm, his reptilian features showing genuine fear for the first time in centuries. The Ethereal Consortium began rapid calculations about human technological capabilities. Even Veltar's energy form flickered with what appeared to be concern. You destroyed 40,000 innocent people to test a biological weapon, Martinez stated in a flat, emotionless voice. You did this to demonstrate your power over species you consider inferior. You did this because you believed there would be no consequences. He paused, and in that silence, several alien representatives realized they could no longer contact their own military installations through their communication networks. Human jamming systems had isolated every Council species' military forces from their command structures. You were mistaken. The demonstration began simply. The lights in the Council chambers flickered as human systems took control of the facility's power grid. Alien personal communication devices stopped functioning. Emergency protocols failed to activate as human cyber warfare systems assumed control of the station's critical systems. Then Martinez showed them what human weapons could really do. A Kithara military outpost, one of their most heavily defended installations, appeared on the display. The facility was massive, protected by energy shields and defended by thousands of bioships. The outpost simply ceased to exist, not destroyed by explosions or energy weapons, but unmade at the molecular level by technology that reduced matter to its component atoms. Where there had been a military base capable of threatening entire star systems, there was now empty space. The silence in the Council chambers became absolute. The aliens stared at the display, trying to comprehend technology that could eliminate matter itself. This is not a negotiation, Martinez explained in the same calm voice he had used throughout the presentation. This is a notification. Humanity is done asking for your approval. We are informing you of the new reality. The display showed more images. Alien fleets surrounded by human ships they had never detected, communication networks controlled by human technology, and defensive systems neutralized without a single shot being fired. The age of Council supremacy has ended, Martinez continued. You ruled through fear and technological suppression. You eliminated species that refused to submit. You experimented on innocent people to test new ways of causing suffering. Veltar tried to speak, but found that his communication systems were no longer under his control. The humans had taken over everything. 40,000 people died because you believed humans were too weak to demand justice, Martinez said. You were wrong about our weakness. Do not be wrong about our determination to ensure this never happens again. The demonstration was complete. Every alien in the chamber understood that their civilizations now existed at human discretion. The species they had dismissed as primitive had revealed capabilities that made resistance not just futile, but suicidal. Martinez stood in the silence, waiting to see if any of the aliens were foolish enough to test humanity's resolve further. The silence in the Council chambers stretched for long minutes after Martinez's demonstration. Every alien representative sat frozen, trying to understand the new reality that humans had just revealed. Their most secure military installations were surrounded by invisible human ships. Their communication networks were controlled by human technology. Their weapon systems had been neutralized without a single shot being fired. Veltar was the first to speak, his energy form flickering weakly. What do you want from us? Martinez looked around the chamber at the faces of beings who had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years through fear and technological superiority. Now they sat before him like children who had been caught doing something terrible. Humanity does not seek domination, Martinez said clearly. We seek justice and equality. The Council's reign of technological suppression and elimination of younger species ends today. The terms he presented were not suggestions or requests. They were requirements that would be enforced by human power whether the aliens agreed or not. The Galactic Council would be completely restructured as a truly democratic federation where all species, regardless of age or technological development, would have equal representation. The practice of suppressing younger civilizations would stop immediately and forever. Full compensation would be made to species that had suffered under Council manipulation. This included rebuilding destroyed colonies, providing medical care for victims of biological warfare, and sharing advanced technology that had been deliberately withheld. Most shocking to the alien representatives was humanity's proposal for enforcement. A joint peacekeeping force composed of representatives from every galactic species, with authority to investigate and prevent the kind of atrocities committed against New Haven. The Kethera Queen objected, her mandibles clicking with indignation. You cannot dictate terms to civilizations that are thousands of years older than your primitive species. Her protest ended when Martinez calmly informed her that her species' entire bioship fleet was currently surrounded by human vessels, and that the plague laboratories responsible for New Haven's destruction had been quarantined by human biowarfare specialists. Your laboratories have been sealed, and your research data has been copied, Martinez explained. Any attempt to create biological weapons will result in the immediate destruction of your breeding facilities. The threat was delivered in the same calm voice, but every alien in the chamber understood that it was not empty. The humans had demonstrated their ability to reach any target, anywhere in the galaxy. Veltar attempted to rally the other council members, insisting that humanity's temporary technological advantage could not overcome the combined might of 47 advanced civilizations. His argument became meaningless when human communication specialists demonstrated their control over the Council's information networks. Every alien homeworld suddenly received broadcasts showing their government's classified war crimes, secret experiments, and systematic oppression of younger species. Across the galaxy, alien populations learned truths their leaders had hidden for centuries. The Council's authority began collapsing as their own people discovered the extent of their leaders' crimes against other species. One by one, the alien representatives realized that resistance would be not only futile, but catastrophically destructive. Human technology had advanced beyond their ability to counter, and human intelligence networks had penetrated their societies so thoroughly that continued opposition was impossible. The transformation was not immediate, but it was inevitable. Some species attempted to negotiate exceptions to the new rules. Others tried to form alliances to resist human demands. All of these efforts failed when they discovered that human monitoring systems were aware of every secret meeting and private communication. Admiral Walsh oversaw the peaceful transition of former Council military assets to the new Galactic Peacekeeping Force. Alien commanders who had once terrorized younger species found themselves taking orders from representatives of the very civilizations they had previously oppressed. Dr. Campbell led scientific exchange programs that shared human innovations while learning from alien knowledge. The technological advancement that resulted benefited all species equally, creating progress that surpassed what any single civilization had achieved alone. President Carter addressed the reformed Galactic Assembly from Earth, which had been designated as the temporary headquarters for the new Democratic Federation. She spoke of humanity's vision, a galaxy where species were judged by their contributions rather than their age, where technological advancement served all civilizations, and where the strong protected the weak, instead of exploiting them. The alien species that had mocked humanity's violent nature discovered that human capacity for warfare was matched by an equally strong commitment to justice. They learned that humans fought not for conquest but for principles, and that human protection was available to any species willing to live peacefully with their neighbors. The species that had dismissed human technology found themselves requesting human assistance with problems they had been unable to solve for centuries. Human engineers working with alien scientists created solutions that neither group could have achieved alone. 6 months after the demonstration, Governor Stevens returned to New Haven aboard a ship that represented the best of both human and alien technology. The colony had been rebuilt with safeguards that made it virtually immune to biological warfare. More importantly, New Haven stood as a memorial to the 40,000 people who had died, and a promise that such atrocities would never again go unanswered. Children from dozens of different species played together in the rebuilt schools, their laughter a symbol of what the galaxy could become when differences were celebrated instead of feared. The reformed Galactic Assembly passed laws based on principles of equality, justice, and mutual protection. Representatives from over 200 species, including many that had been suppressed or hidden under the old council system, worked together to write rules that served everyone instead of just the powerful. Jake Morrison, now Secretary General of the Galactic Democratic Federation, delivered the opening address at the first truly representative assembly in galactic history. He reflected on the price of respect in a galaxy that had understood only strength. Humanity did not seek to become the galaxy's guardians, Morrison said to the assembled representatives. But when faced with the choice between submission and justice, there was no choice at all. He looked out at the faces of beings from worlds throughout the galaxy, species that had once feared each other now working together for their common benefit. The galaxy underestimated humanity once, Morrison continued. You saw us as primitive and violent, suitable only for servitude or elimination. You learned too late that civilized beings can be the most dangerous enemies when their families are threatened. The final scene played out in the rebuilt New Haven, where human children played alongside young beings from dozens of alien species. Their games and laughter echoed across a colony that now stood as proof of what the galaxy could accomplish when strength served justice rather than oppression. The Council had ruled through fear for thousands of years, keeping younger species weak and dependent. They had experimented on innocent people to test new forms of suffering. They had eliminated entire civilizations that refused to submit to their authority. Now they served a new order based on principles they had never understood. That justice was more powerful than oppression, that cooperation achieved more than domination, and that protecting the innocent was more important than maintaining power. The galaxy would never again mistake human quietness for weakness, or human diplomacy for inability to fight. The species that had once mocked humanity's primitive nature now understood what civilized primitives could accomplish. When pushed beyond endurance, humanity had spoken softly for 50 years while carrying a very big stick. When forced to use that stick, they had reshaped galactic civilization forever.